Hi, I'm Alex Salomone. I am a consciousness mentor and a spiritual guide, and you're watching P3 on Rise Above TV.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Rise Above TV, where we are empowering humanity and supporting unity. You're watching P3, the place where we feature individuals who've tapped into their power, passion, and purpose. I'm your host, Janie Terrazas, and today I am super thrilled to have the badass Alex Salomone. He's a consciousness mentor and spiritual guide, and this is a person who isn't just, talking the talk, but he's literally walking the walk. He's inspiring so many people on social media. Alex, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Janie. It is an absolute pleasure and honor to be able to be here and share space and energy with you and all of you listeners from across the world. So it is such a pleasure. Thank you for all of your kind words. They're very, very well received.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Now, consciousness mentor and spiritual guide. Spiritual guide, it's like, it says what it is, right? And consciousness mentor, I want you to give us your take on the word consciousness. And I know that's heavy duty, but just like in your words, because it's a word that a lot of people are hearing. And it's important for us to really understand what that means in terms of personal growth and how our power is tied to consciousness.
Absolutely. Yeah, so when I think about consciousness, the reason why I chose in particular to use consciousness mentor is because everything is consciousness. We live in a universe that when we narrow it down, right, to what is everything in life, it is all consciousness. It is what connects everything together. And that's why when I decided to take on this sort of title, is to be that bridge for people to connect with themselves, right? To connect with their spirit, with their soul, with their heart, with nature, with the universe, and help them be that guiding system to help them to realize that they are the medicine, that they are everything they need inside of them, and that we are consciousness. So that's like the very short version of that.
Right, I know, because we could probably sit here for 2 hours and like break
Yes,
down consciousness and from like physics and the spiritual aspect and everything
yes,
else. So but that was a really beautiful way, a very eloquent way of helping people understand. And I love when you use the word bridge. They say that it's like you want to build a bridge between the sub and the conscious, the dark and the light.
yeah, absolutely. Just one brief note that I would say about that is just that when you walk into a room of darkness that you've never been before, it can feel unsettled, right? Because you don't know what's if you're going to run into something, if there's going to be something is going to hurt you. So fear can live in the darkness. However, when you can trust in your other senses other than your vision, you are utilizing all of yourself and you're putting trust in yourself that you can navigate through the darkness. And I think about this very much as an example as to what it means to go into the subconscious. Sometimes it can be a little bit scary going into this unknown field that it is within us and so much is there, but because we don't know how to tap into it, and when we are there it can be scary because we're relying on one sense of that visual sense. So tapping into the subconscious, it's also getting to know your other senses, your spiritual senses, your other abilities to understand yourself from different angles. So it is a beautiful place to explore, and it is a very much of a process because it's something that unfortunately it is not being taught or talked about. So
You speak with a lot of gentleness, and it's important for people to understand that when they do go through that journey and they do go into those spaces within their own selves, it can be uncomfortable. And some people have a lot more reservations than other people for whatever reason. And we have to meet people where they're at. And I think that's another place where you know how to create safe space because you are connected with that intuitiveness within yourself that you're helping people reconnect to. When you start to get more aware of that, it can help you in a lot of ways. And I think that's another thing that I love when I meet guys that are really that like nice balance of the scales of logic and emotion. They're the feeler and the thinker. What would you like to say about that? Because I feel like you're really leading the way. You're one of the gentlemen, I'll say, that's
Thank you.
helping men understand the wounds that they have because women have wounds and men have wounds.
Absolutely. Thank you for those beautiful words. They are really well received, and thank you so much. I think that there is a large issue with men, in particular, a challenge rather than an issue when it comes to balance. And I feel like this balance, the irregularity of balance comes from society, obviously, with the pressure, right? Much how women have certain pressure from society to be a certain way, to operate and think and do certain things. Um, it doesn't resonate with everybody. And these are terms from society that have been developed throughout years for with different intentions, right? So I feel like we are in a moment in a time right now where as consciousness is shifting for humanity, we are turning more inward and we're unidentifying and unattaching ourselves with these social ideas of what a man is and what a woman is. However, we're still in that in between exploration time, or rather space. And, having been in the military in the Marines for 6 years, I really was around a lot of that alpha energy, a lot of that very masculine energy, especially with what I did and what I specialized. And prior to that, even some of the things that I had gone through in my life, where I was very much in a place where I was in that aggression state. And as I became older, I wanted to understand that rage. I wanted to understand that fire energy. And the curiosity is one of the most beautiful things that humans have, that we have. And it's how you take on that curiosity. It's what really creates so much of your perspective in your life. So as I became curious about why do I feel angry? Why do I feel this way? Why, rather than just accepting it, rather than just saying, oh, this is just how I'm supposed to be. I became to learn about myself, and I understood that a lot of this anger, a lot of these things were coming from pain, from trauma, right? And finding this balance that I have now was found within me, because oftentimes people go out to search for peace. They go out to search for love. They go out to search for things. And when you go inward and you search within yourself, it's a different path that you go on. It's a different journey. And you start to realize that you need to face your fears. You need to face your insecurities. You need to face all the things that you're avoiding and that you're masking and/or using these behaviors to postulate these insecurities. So for me, it was that. It was a moment of being brave with myself and getting real with myself and saying, is this who I am, or are these the agreements that I've made in my life, right, with people that I have taken to believe to be true, but are really not. Okay, so I think it's very important for all men to take time to explore what it means to be a human first, and then a man, and to create your own emotion around it, because our emotions is what makes us human beings. Before men, we're human. Before men, okay. So I
Love
think
it.
that's what it is. It's there's so much you cannot control in the world, and I only focus on two things to master: my thoughts and my emotions. Those are the two things I can control, and the more I can get in tune with that, the more I can find that inner peace, that inner, harmony.
Letting go of the ingrained ideas about what it means to be a man. It's like it is serious, and to return to your feelings and emotions, that's not an easy process. That's why I bow down to men and women that are doing this work. But so being mindful of your thoughts and your emotions, like you were saying, and knowing that you can be the master of them, right? In such a way that your vitality and your immunity is literally in your hands. I always like to tell people you can become the chemist of your blood. Well, how do you do that? What Alex was talking about, that's how you do it. You have to learn a little bit about neurology and a little bit about biology, a little bit about chemistry, a little bit about how all this works. And then now you can be the one that messes with the tinctures and the dials, we'll say.
Absolutely. I think knowledge is very interesting. Um, and I do think that it often feeds the ego, but it also allows us to put more into concept what is going on chemically, and so you can sort of say, oh, okay, I'm this way because this is happening. But more so, it's about surrendering to yourself. It starts with you know before, because some of you may not be interested in quantum physics and neuroscience and all these other things, which is fine. You don't have to in
No,
order
not at all.
to really go explore yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Really, what it is just that curiosity of just getting to know yourself. Think of it as like your best friend. Before you became best friends, how did you become best friends? How did that relationship evolve? By spending time together, asking questions, spending quality time, right? And developing a trust between you and that person. So the question to ask yourself is, am I my best friend or my worst enemy? When you're looking yourself in the mirror, are you looking at yourself with love or judgment?
Mm-hmm.
So these things are very important. Yes, and when we talk about science, we are energy. Everything is energy, and we have that common denominator with everything, and how we interact with life is very much of an energy field. But even more in simple terms is, if we do not understand ourselves, we do not understand our energy, right? We do not understand life. So therefore, we can feel very confused, we can feel very lost, and we are very reactive to outside energy. That is not empowerment at all. And so you are reacting from a place of emotions that you don't even know how to manage. So therefore, it feels like life is just, it's out of your control. Like it's just like, oh, things just happen to me, and you're kind of in this spiral of
Mm-hmm.
negative thoughts, because you can't rationalize what's going on because you don't understand yourself.
Yeah, you're talking about like intimacy with
Mhm.
thyself. And we are our best worst adversaries, and the world has conditioned us to be very skilled at that. And then
Yeah.
depending on the kind of family structure you were born into,
Mhm.
that too, right? So when you see the boogeyman for what it is and you realize it's coming from your own self, you're like, oh my God. So it's being open and surrendering to whatever is going to show itself, and then trusting in that you will have what it takes to get through it, and or you find the support to help you get through it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's what stops most people from being at their full potential is fear.
Mm,
And fear is an illusion. Fear is not real, because you can take 155 people and present them with a spider, and not every one of those individuals will be feared of that spider. But the spider is just a spider. The spider doesn't become scary or just because only certain people look at it. It's whatever you give it the meaning to that
Mm.
creature that defines your relationship and your reality. It creates that, So, and all it is the unknown. Maybe you're afraid of spiders because the idea of it. Maybe you watched the movie or you had a bad experience, or whatever it is. But it lives in the subconscious, and so people want to have a better life. People want to be happy, but they don't want to face their fears because they don't know how. Okay. And this is the number one thing. It's the number one thing. And fear comes from pain. It comes from when you narrow it down further. There's another layer from fear. It's it's afraid of the unknown at times, right? It's like, oh, if I touch this, it's either going to hurt me or I don't know what's going to happen. And it's related to the brain has said if means danger. And so, back in the days, we have a 2 million-year-old brain, and that would serve us back in the day to survive against nature and predators and such. But now these predators are emotions. hmm So now we have a system overload on a 2 million-year-old brain. And so, yes, it can feel very much like this anxiety and these fears can surface, and it's stopping people from doing the work of getting to know themselves. It's from doing the work of having the courage to get out of the comfort zone and explore life with a different lens.
Yes, comfort zone. Mm. We get complacent. What would you say is for somebody who is wanting to kind of like flex some muscles, because it's always good to kind of baby step through some of this stuff, right? Is that something that's pretty common, I would imagine, with some of your clients? And is there like a little tool that you help them with in terms of starting to step out of comfort zone?
Yes, I have. I'll share three. I
Okay,
work in
cool.
threes.
Cool. I love it.
I'll share a physical, a spiritual, and a mental one,
Okay, cool.
which they're all work together. The first one would be, it can be something simple as like doing a cold shower. We live in a world that we have designed everything for our comfort. If you think about it, our beds, our homes, our vehicles, everything is there's comfort in mind. So of course that becomes the norm. So when you're used to being comfortable and everything that you're searching for, there's comfort behind it. The uncomfortable is the anomaly, or is that one thing that you're trying to avoid. So you can you can you can start by doing something that's very personal, by simply switching the cold shower for a few minutes, maybe a few seconds to start with. And this is actually good for you. There's a lot of great science behind it that it supports your immune system. For men out there, increases testosterone. Okay, it's good for your skin. It's good for your hair. The list goes on and on and on. So it's a positive thing, and you're gonna learn something about yourself. Most of the time, when you first start, you're gonna hesitate. You're like, oh, I really don't want to like do this, and you're gonna have this argument with yourself. Okay, just for cold water. Okay, and then when you do it, it's gonna take your breath away, and the ego is gonna be saying, "Hey, please, hot water, hot water, hot water." You're gonna be just thinking about that. It's gonna take your breath away, perhaps, and this and that. But once you're done, you're gonna feel amazing, because part of the chemically what happens when you do this, and especially the longer you do it, your blood pressure starts to go down, your heart rate starts to decrease, and it's a great stress reliever, but it also infuses you with energy. Okay. And you're going to feel great. And you may even chuckle, and you may even say, that wasn't too bad. A few seconds of cold water that now you know from this conversation that we're having that it's actually really good for yourself. You gained so much from this little exercise. And commit to yourself. And if you don't commit to yourself of doing this every single day, it is an opportunity for you to have that awareness. What else am I compromising? Am I having these sort of relationships with myself that I argue and I'm negotiating with things that are good for me that maybe make me feel a little uncomfortable, but I should be doing them and it's not that big of a deal? And so this simple awareness is going to start to give you a sort of a highlighter to other things in your life that you've been putting off to do that are really good for you. So be persistent, push yourself. You're training your mind, you're training your subconscious a new thing. Okay? That's one of them. Two, and I think it's a very important one. When it comes to getting to know yourself, it can be uncomfortable. And that simply is because you've looked at yourself at a certain way, or you think about yourself a certain way that perhaps is just not the best. So the best way to do this is I want you to think about yourself in a younger form. Think of your inner child. So you can close your eyes and imagine you're a younger version of yourself. It can be between the ages of 7 and 8, so 7 and 10. And I want you to see what that small version of you needs. I want you to give it love. I want you to hug it. I want you to just shower it with love and see how that feels. And understand and know that that is the most purest version of yourself. It's your inner child. So to give yourself love, it's a lot harder to look yourself in the mirror and go through that sort of process when there are so many deeper wounds that need to be dealt with. So start with your inner child. It's just a child. Be kind to it. Love it. Love it as much as you can. And that will help you to deal with other things that are uncomfortable about yourself. And lastly, when you think about getting out of your comfort zone, I don't want you to just think about things. I would love for you, I invite you to feel things. Start to have a connection with your heart. Okay, so when you are debating, when you are the cold shower thing, you're going to be very much in your mind. You're going to be rationalizing as to why you should not do that. But I want you to feel that, hey, I got this. Put your hand over your heart when you're feeling like you're in these railroads, right? In these crossroads of like wanting to do something that you know it's good for you, but your mind is trying to walk you out of it. Place your right hand over your heart. Take a deep breath. Breathe in to your heart. Because in your heart lies the truth. When you feel yourself and you give yourself the opportunity, the mind calms down and you connect with that other very important organ, that being your heart. And these three things will help you to slowly get out of that comfort zone into a place that's actually not so bad after all. And it will help you connect with yourself, with your inner self, with your heart, with your peace.
I love all of those ideas. And you had mentioned the word empowerment earlier. And as you were speaking about this is like empowerment training. This is you feeling your ability, your consciousness to sort of rise above the brain body, right? And sort of be in control in that moment. And you do feel good about yourself. It's like these little wins, that you kind of like, oh, okay, cool. And it's just building upon that. And I really love too how all of these things that you're offering, I call it like a sandwich. There's a lot of things that it's touching on in that one moment. It's kind of like Mr. Miyagi, in the Karate Kid. It's like you don't even realize what you're learning or what's happening, but it's happening. And so I do cold showers. I started that too. And there's a lot of, like he said, a lot of science that backs up all of the things that he was talking about. I also appreciate that you brought up the inner child again, and that's a big thing that collectively we're all learning, how to, it's almost like reparenting ourselves, or giving ourselves the I call it the T and the TLC, the time, energy, and attention that you needed at that time, along with the tender loving care and spending quality time delivering that nurturing. And we could even look at the ego, right? The ego is tied to the inner child, and so it's us becoming our own beloved. It's like becoming our own best friend, going back to the friend thing. So all of that is tied to power. And clearly, you're passionate about this. And I don't know what your ethnicity is, but I feel like you come from a lineage too of like passion.
Yes, thank you so much. You're a very good reader. Thank you. Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, passion. You're right. I was born in Argentina. I'm from South America, um, and come from a very heavy Italian lineage. So lots of passion there for sure. But when you think about passion, all it is just being in tune with your heart. Passion is something that is available for all of us. It's a beautiful gift, right? And anything and everything is available for us, and we just have to be willing to explore it. And if you're someone that, what, I'm just not that kind of person, you can identify that way. That's a choice, and that's something that you're more than entitled to um to own to. But I would invite you to open your mind and open your heart. Don't limit yourself. Just explore it. You don't have to do it around other people. Explore yourself in the passion, because we all have passion about something. It could be, perhaps you're a male that is passionate about football. Perhaps you're a female that's passionate about purses or nails or fashion, whatever it may be. But we all have some sort of passion. And all that is just, it's just an alignment with your feelings and something that you feel in your heart, and you're like, yeah, I just love that. And usually you'll want to learn about it, and it's fun to learn about it. It's fun to be immersed in that topic. And so the great thing is that you can take that equation, you can copy it, and you can paste it, and to anything that in which it sparks your interest. So passion is a very beautiful thing, and it can open your heart in so many ways, and you can experience this world in such with so much more color, and
Mhm.
it's beautiful.
Yes, it reminds me too. It kind of, curiosity and excitement. Those two things are tied to joy, and all those things are tied to passion. And sometimes when people hear passion, I know it's tying it to your lineage of people, and like I know certain cultures are known for their passion and stuff, but passion is inside everybody because it's a piece of the I am. And so if we all have all the elements of the I am, clearly passion is there. And I like how you were saying you can illuminate that and sort of find other ways to transfer that into other places. And I think also tapping into our artistry and our creativity. Is there anything that you would like to say about that? Because I feel passion is within art itself, like dancing and singing and just all those things.
Absolutely. So, you know, when I think about passion and those who want to find what it is, um, to find passion is to find yourself, because it's to understand what you love, what you have such interest for, and it's a beautiful way to calibrate your compass, your internal compass, to guide you into different realms of things that you could express that passion as energy at the end of the day. And perhaps your way of expressing that is by dancing. Perhaps your way of expressing that is by doing art. Perhaps is by simply rollerblading, moving certain ways, the ways that stimulate your mind. But ultimately, what it is it's understanding what is it inside of you that you're being called. And that's why I say it's to find yourself, because it's a very deep thing. And it is this feeling of when you know, like, I just love this. Like, for instance, I have passion about doing spiritual work. I have passion about exploring the energy world. And so for me, it's very easy to learn about quantum physics. For me, it's very easy to learn about neuroscience and psychology and things of that nature, where others might find it boring. For me, it's fun because it goes with what I love to do, to learn and to experience in this earth. So if you're looking for that, I would start by saying, what do you love and what does love mean to you? Because you cannot find what you love if you're not clear with what love is. And don't think about it from another person or relationships or all these other exterior things. What does love mean to you? And you're going to perhaps sit with that question. And you're going to realize that your definition of love is based on your experiences. And you're limiting yourself because there's so much beyond that. So go and explore love. And in that exploration of love, you're going to find your passion.
Bingo. And it's funny, as you were saying that, that really is part of our purpose, like as people, just as individuals, is really returning to our natural, organic, unbreakable, unshakable identity that is LOVE, and that powers up all of existence, and that's pretty awesome. So that in itself is we can feel purposeful when we do this personal work on ourselves. We're literally impacting all those around us and the entire biofield of the planet, going back to physics and stuff and kicking out whatever. But we also give others permission to really step into their true selves. It's like, what would you like to say about that and anything that I just mentioned about it?
Yeah, purpose. I feel like a lot of people have a lot of anxiety around that question. It's like, oh, what is my purpose? You know, I learned that purpose is a beautiful thing, if we allow it to ourselves to think of it as such. In other words, when you think about purpose, I would invite you to disconnect your idea around purpose and switch the word that has already an association for you with who am I and what am I here for? Okay, those are two questions. And you could say, well, that's just as equally as complex. Um, but here's the thing, what are you here for? Well, hmm, I don't know. What am I here for? Um, I never thought about that, right? And when you think about what, it can be, it's an action, right? It's like, am I here to write a book? Am I here to express myself? Am I here to, it's ultimately a state of an expression, right? But to find purpose is to say, what do I want to do on this earth that I resonate with? And it goes in hand with passion. In other words, what do I have passion about that I want to do? That's what purpose to me means. And don't focus on the word purpose, but it's like, what do I love to do? And how can I help people doing this, right? That's another way that can help you. So maybe for instance, maybe you're a great one would be that I was helping somebody with is like, this guy loves basketball, but he says, well, that's my dream and that's what I feel like called to do and everything, but I can't be a professional basketball player. I've already missed my mark. So there goes that. I said, wait a minute. Can you think about, because I can think about 100 different things you can do within the field of basketball, that you could coach other people. If you've been playing it for so many years, right? You have that experience. Can you further develop your skills? Maybe you won't be playing it in a national level, but you can teach others. You can teach high school kids. You can teach even like men's or women's basketball in your local area. You're still doing what you love to do, and you're sharing your knowledge, and you're helping others to maybe achieve their dreams. And you could say, well, that's it? That could be my purpose? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you see, what you're doing beyond basketball, if you take away the word basketball, is you're providing space for people. You're providing space for people to express themselves. Movement, also mental, also like a leadership can be born from sports. Camaraderie, connection, learning on how to work with other humans that come from other walks of earth. So there's a lot of beautiful lessons within that basketball idea that you're creating a big impact in society. So everything that we do practically, even if it's something that you create, even if you're a cook, it's always for other people. If you think about it, in some way, shape, or form, it's going to be affected by with other people. So focus on what you love to do, and then understand that. Look at it from a different angle. You'll never get bored of it, because then you're like, you get this angle, now you can see it from this angle and this angle, and then the psychological aspect of basketball, and then the physical and the mind to physicality, and there's so much more to explore.
I love that you touched on that example, especially because you can apply it to pretty much anything, and it a person can do this. It's almost like what you were also talking about as you were speaking on it. It was just this intentionality too.
Absolutely. It's it's connecting all senses, right? Passion cannot exist without emotions. To live in fully in a human experience is to learn to connect with your emotions, to connect with all your senses, right? So don't rely so much on the brain, Don't rely so much on your eyes, on just seeing. I have to see it to believe it.
Right.
Well, you don't have to see always love to know that it's there, right? You can feel love. And so
Mm-hmm.
feeling is also another very important experience, part of the experience of being a human being. So learn your other senses. Learn your other senses, and you're going to amplify on your passion. You're going to amplify on life, because you're going to tap into those other senses that make you who you are as a human.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's like there's a richness. We're like capping ourselves and limiting ourselves when we're only allowing ourselves the room and the space to only feel certain things. You know what I mean? And so it's I always like to tell people emotions are like all these like paints, and creator gave us all of these paints, and so for us to condemn some, now granted there's certain emotions that have a different impact on us cellularly. It's okay for us to feel the others. The point is to know how to be in that space so that you don't stay in that space when it is sort of dark and heavy, when you're going through grief, knowing how to move through grief, when life throws you a curveball that was unexpected, and that's another thing that I like that you touched on, helping people get comfortable with uncertainty and the unknown and uncomfortability. Because when you help them on the back end in that way, in different ways, when things like this happen, they're not quite as shook, right? You were talking about life, and when that happens, people feel like life is shoving them around and pushing them around and sort of giving them the short end of the stick. And when you start to see things for what they really are and know yourself in a different way, and then the perceptual awareness starts to change from the inside, you're going to have a different experience. And that's awesome, because then it's going to be, you'll enjoy more peace and pleasure, and you won't have to experience as much pain and suffering.
What if life was happening for you instead of to you?
That's
It's a beautiful thing to think about. And what's something I would like to share with people that also we didn't touch up as much, that is very important, is our belief systems. It's something that it's very powerful, and we must understand what limiting beliefs do we have, because In fact, we're going to do a quick little exercise. So we'll get our listeners and everybody involved a little bit here.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
Okay. And I just want you to answer it. No matter how many times I ask and no matter how, whatever, just answer it
And
rapidly,
am I
as
going to be
fast as possible.
participating? Am I going to answer you, or we're just like going to
Yes.
this and I'm just like not saying anything?
You're going to answer the question, please.
Okay.
Okay. And then listeners, feel free to play along with this and see what you get as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Cool.
All right. What is the color of the snow?
White.
What is the color of the snow?
White.
What's 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 the color of the
White.
snow? What's the color of the snow?
White.
What's the color of the snow?
White.
What do cows drink?
Milk.
They drink water.
Ah,
So
I
this
love
is a
that.
fun little exercise. And the whole point
Yes.
of this exercise is sometimes when you tell yourself something and you
Yes.
believe it, you believe it, you believe it, you believe it, you tell yourself over and over and over, you're programming your mind. And then you're like, well, yeah, you're thinking white, 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 and you think cow's milk. And you
Right.
say these things, right? But they drink water. So it's just like a little mind trick, of how sometimes when we say things to ourselves, we convince ourselves to think things that are not really completely accurate. Understand
They
your belief systems, and ask yourself, what kind of agreements and stories am I telling myself that are limiting me?
hmm
And where does that come from? People think often, oh, I'm not, I could never do this or I could never do that. And I always said to them, you're right. And they kind of look at me. I'm like, if you say so, you're right.
Yeah,
What
because
would it
it's their
look
truth.
like? Yeah, what would it look like to say, you know what? I don't know. Let me try. Why not? What would it
Yeah.
look like to think, hey, I've never done that, so how could I know? Let me just try. You never know.
You never know. It's kind of like trying foods.
Exactly.
That's another place you can kind of like venture out and explore and step out of your
Hmm.
comfort zone, because you'll think you won't like something and maybe you won't like it, but how do you really know? And it's so funny because we say that to kids all the time, right? I'm like, oh, I don't want to, but yeah, you've never tried it. And yet adults will do that all the time. And then we're such hypocrites because we don't take our own advice, when it comes to things. So I always say, try everything at least once.
Yeah, just be open, be open, but also just understand your belief systems and like go deep with it. If you don't think you're worthy of something, it has probably something to do with your value. And why don't you value yourself? Because you have insecurities. Where do these insecurities come from? You're gonna find that a lot of it comes from pain, right?
hmm
From trauma, and all trauma really is an agreement that was made between you and that person or that scenario and that situation that really made you believe that this is the way that this particular situation is. And you can change that. You can make new agreements. You can say, you know what, that maybe that idea served me then, but it no longer serves me because it is limiting myself, which I know I have this gut feeling, i.e., your intuition, that's telling me, that's calling me to do this, but I'm afraid, or I'm just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Go with your gut, follow your gut,
hmm
follow your heart. When you feel fear, when you feel um, these belief systems, ask your heart, ask your heart, see what comes up, and be brave for yourself. You don't have to be brave with anybody else, but with just yourself.
Yes. And you were talking about the heart and the gut. And you know, we do have a little brain in the heart. There's brain matter in the heart. We know this. They discovered this, I think it was like 1991. And they know that there's more channels and information that goes from the brain and the heart. And I like to think that it pings the belly brain really quickly before it goes to the head. But anyway, it's the heart to the head and then to the rest of the body. So for us to be disregarding the heart, it's also 5,000 times more electromagnetic than the brain and the head. So if that tells you anything, like why is it that we're valuing this so much when we already have all the science and data that says this is muy importante, and we need to reconnect to that, because to me that's like our divine GPS system. It's that inner compass and that guidance system that you were talking about that we've been severed from to some degree. And you're
Mhm.
helping people restore that communication, restore that truth, restore that connection, and then gently guide them because they do have their own answers, right? That's another reason why I feel like people that are in your position, it's really important for us to be grounded and to remain humble. And that's another reason why this stuff's important, because imagine if everybody lit up their P3. That's why I like doing the show, because everybody's got a P3. Everybody's powerful. Everybody's passionate. Everybody's purposeful. And it's important for us to feel that significance and feel that truth. Okay, that was my little tangent on the TED Talk. You were talking about the
Love
bravery.
it.
Bravery, man. You're so brave to be doing this. You're brave to step in your calling. Any last words that you would like to share with us? And then, of course, let people know how they can connect with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I want you to think about something. I want you to think about this question, and I want you to sit with it. I want you to ask yourself, what would it take for me to feel free? Let that settle in your heart. Let it sink in your heart. What would it take for me to feel free? And as you go and explore that question, I invite you to be a child. Because if you look at children, they're free. And we are children. That is our purest version of ourselves when we come to this earth, before we take on the ego, before our subconscious takes on our safety mechanisms and our protection and all these wonderful things that we need and we use. We come here pure, without identity, but with pure love, in harmony, with peace, enlightenment. And as you look into a child's eyes, you can see the radiation of love through their eyes. That is you. Don't forget that that is you. So go home. Go home to your heart. Go home to your younger self. Find that peace. And in that peace, you're going to find the joy and the happiness and everything else that involves the word harmony. And just know that it's in you. It's not about me. It's not about any of these other people who are doing the work. We are just simply inviting you to say, hey, look this way. You got this. Take a step forward and don't forget to breathe. And if you just do this, I promise you, you're going to go on a beautiful, amazing journey of self-discovery. It doesn't have to be ugly. And learn to respect the ugly. Honor it. Honor the ugly. Because the ugly, we appreciate the beauty. It's there to teach us. Let it teach you. Take the lessons and then let it go. To be brave is simply that. It's to be willing to take a step forward for yourself. It's to be willing to go back to your inner child and love your inner child, which means to love yourself. And to be guided into the unknown, knowing that the light will always outshine the darkness. So that would be my message. And, if you would like to, if you're interested in working with me, you can reach out to me. I do one-on-one services, of course, but I'm more so steering away from that. And I'm trying to build more of a community where people can come and express themselves and learn how to express themselves. So definitely, follow me on my social media and things of that nature if you want to keep up with these sort of updates. And I will be having people like Janie will come in. She was going to share her wisdom, her energy, her beauty, her love, and we're going to combine forces. The more light we bring together, the brighter it creates of a light, right? Of an energy, of a vibration. And right now, it's a very beautiful time to be alive. So wake up. It's okay to wake up. It's okay to be brave. It's okay to feel. Feel it all. Know that you're being supported and you're not the only one. And don't forget to be kind to yourself. And that would be my message.
Mm, so beautifully said. I believe you're one of those, like John Lennon says, you may call me you may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. And we're like the dream weavers of the peaceful world, right? The place where people are finally letting go of that division and all this stuff that just is like just tearing us apart and just doesn't serve us anymore. So I commend you so much for all that you're doing, and I just wish you continued success and blessings on all of your endeavors. Thank you so much for spending your time, energy, and attention, your tea, and sharing all your lovely wisdom.
Thank you so much, Annie. I'm just a reflection of you, so don't forget that. And you're such a beautiful light and a beautiful soul. So thank you for doing the work that you do, for spreading your love, your light, your knowledge, your wisdom, your encouragement, your energy. And it is highly respected. And it's such a beautiful thing to be able to meet like-minded individuals that get it, that it's beyond ourselves. It's for the greater good of humanity, and we're all one. We're all just brothers and sisters, and it's beautiful. And it's time to change the way we think and do things in this world for the better. And thank you, all you listeners, for opening up your hearts, your minds, and yourselves to this conversation. And I hope that there were some things that sparked for you in your heart, that you felt. Whatever you felt, follow that feeling. Let that be your guide, because your soul is craving it and you deserve it.
Yes, I highly suggest you take on some of those journal prompts, the things that he suggested to do. Thank you again, Alex. And thank you, everyone, for supporting the mindfulness movement here at Rise Above TV. Your likes, shares, and follows are greatly appreciated because they help spread the love. Subscribe to our YouTube and podcast channels for more mindful content. Tune in next week to meet another individual who's tapped into their power, passion, and purpose. Till next time, peace be in us.